Good morning and welcome then to our third online class. I do miss you all and I do have plans afoot to maybe switch to giving a Zoom live class so that we can all see each other. It won't be until at least next week, and I'll still continue doing these pre-recorded classes for those of you who can't make your normal time slot, and I might just adjust those time slots a little bit. Anyway, I'll be in touch with you all about that. But for today's class, we're going to look at gentle hip openers. I can hear some of you groaning already, but there's no need to. The important thing to remember always is, well, never to push or pull or force. And with regard to your hips and your shoulders, but today we're focusing on hips, I find it's really useful to remember that your legs do not begin at the hip joint. They grow from your spine and they travel through your hip joint. So the foot is directly connected to the spine, and all you need to do is release and relax and loosen the hip joint so that the foot can travel through it to the spine and the spine can travel through it to the hip. So try to keep that in mind as we work today. Before we lie down, I just wanted to, because it's going to be difficult for you to look at me once you're lying down, so I just wanted to explain at one point I'm going to ask you to put, this is when you're lying down, I'm going to ask you to put your feet into Supta Baddha Konasana, where the soles of the feet connect. And then I'm going to ask you to bring one foot closer to the pubis and let the other foot go in front of that foot. So it's kind of like a staggered Baddha Konasana, and then we'll change. The other foot will come closer to the pubis and the other foot in front. Okay, so I'll let you know when that happens, but hopefully that gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. So, without further ado, let's begin by lying down on your mats. I hope you've got a mat at home. If not, any old carpet will do, especially for today's class, because we're not standing or balancing, so you can just be on a normal carpet if need be, perhaps with a towel on top. And just taking that time to release the body into the ground, as though you're welcoming the ground beneath your feet, the back of your skull, and any other places that are touching the ground. Connect with your breath and just take a few moments to detach from the outside world. Detach from any worries or thoughts or plans, and just make a commitment to yourself that for the next hour and a quarter you will be gently breathing in, breathing out, beginning to get a sense of the breath moving through your bones as you soften the skin, the bones waking up to that newfound freedom, and just gently moving with the breath. So now we're going to take our feet into Baddha Konasana, so the soles of the feet are touching. Think about the balls of your big and little toes connecting and both heels connecting. Let the toes themselves be long and free. And just very gently allowing the hips to open. Excuse me. If the hips feel tight or the groin is pulling, then focus on pressing the soles of your feet together more firmly. And remember what I said, from that touch of the feet against each other, feed back directly to your spine. It's almost as though the legs are then supported by the spine. And so you can work on softening and releasing the hips. Continue to focus on your breath. Just allow the body to open. If it gets too difficult, then all you need to do is bring your knees back up. Place your feet flat on the floor, and then maybe after a little while you can try again. The heels as close as is comfortable for you to the pubis. Just make sure that your shoulders are relaxed. And still feel that breath moving through the bones, and a sense of gentle wave-like movement underneath your skin. I didn't talk about the arms, but they can be, the arms, the hands can be wherever they feel most comfortable to you. Now bring your left foot, just shuffle it in a little bit closer to your pubis, and let the right foot move in front. So there'll be a slightly different feeling in your hips. Just rest into that. Again, the feet are now touching the ground rather than each other. And from that touch, you keep feeding back to your spine. Letting the hips just get on with softening and opening. Stay here for a few moments. And then change. The right foot shuffles in towards your pubis. The left foot rests in front of it. Again, take a few moments for the hips to adjust. Wiggle around if you need to. Move around a little bit. Press the feet into the ground. Feel their connection with the spine. And then relax and breathe. And now bring the feet back into Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet touching. And a last few moments here, softening as much as you can. Then gently lift your knees, place the feet flat on the floor, just rock a little from side to side. And then we're going to draw the knees into the chest, but just before you do, put your fingers into that crease at the top of your thighs. And just become aware of the space in that crease. And then when you lift first of all the right foot, fold the thigh over that space. So you're not just squishing the knee into the chest. You can just rest your right hand on top of that knee. And then do the same thing with the left knee. Lift the foot. Keep a sense of space in the groin, in that crease, and then fold the thigh over that space. You can have one hand on each knee, or you can gently clasp your fingers together over both knees. Relax your shoulders, relax your face. Just be here for a few moments as you breathe in. You can let the knees float away a little. As you breathe out, you don't pull the knees towards you, but you allow the weight of your arms, like two heavy curtains, you allow that weight to draw the knees towards you. Breathing in, they float away a little. Breathing out, they come towards you. Now find that place just beneath your tummy button. That's the place from which the legs grow. So as you press that place into the ground, let your legs gently open towards the sky. We've done this before. As the legs gently open, don't be tempted to push through your heels, but rather allow the weight of your feet to give you back to that place behind the tummy button. So the legs are not being held in place, They're just floating, supported by the ground beneath you. Then using your hands, cross the right leg over the left leg. And I say use your hands because you want to try and cross as high up on your thighs as you can. And then bend both knees. You've got your left hand on the front knee, your right hand on the back knee. And we're going to see if we can go a little bit further today. See whether, and if you can't, you can just stay like this. But for those of you who can, see if you can take this right foot behind your left calf. So kind of tucking it behind your left calf. And then with both hands on your front knee, just some little circular movements. Circling one way a few times and then the other way. And then we're going to use the left hand. So if you have got the foot tucked behind the calf, keep it there and use the left hand to guide your feet towards the ground on the left hand side. Let the knees follow and begin to work on the twist. So remember, it's the right side of the waist that you're peeling back whilst the knees continue to travel to the left. If the right shoulder has had to lift, let it lift. Free up the right arm. You can place that right hand on your hip. But if the right shoulder is comfortably on the ground, then open the arm to the side. If the head wants to roll to the right and that feels comfy, then do that. Breathe. Don't lose your feet. Here again, it's important that you use the touch of your feet against the ground to feed back to your spine so that you're supported through your spine and you can begin to soften the right hip and buttock. Remember, we talk about softening the skin. So if you feel the skin pulling, don't go deeper into that stretch, but try to soften the skin so that you can release what's underneath it. Okay, slowly come back up, unravel your legs. Draw the knees into your chest again for a few moments. And then find that place beneath your tummy button. Press it into the ground, and from there, let the legs grow towards the sky. You don't need to straighten the legs. If you need to keep the knees quite bent, that's absolutely fine. The important thing is that you don't push upwards, but rather feed backwards and grow from there. And we'll do the same thing with the hands. You take the left leg, cross it over the right leg, as high up the thigh as you can, and then bend both knees. So your right hand is on the front knee, your left hand on the back. That might be strong enough for you. You can do the twist from here. But otherwise, if it's possible, see if you can tuck. Which foot is it? It's the left foot behind the right calf. See how that feels. You can do some little circular movements to soften everything up. if it's even difficult for you to cross the legs at the thighs, then you can always do this twist with the knees just drawn into your chest. So, you'll find a place that is comfortable for you. Then with the right hand this time, you guide the feet towards the ground. Once they're there, you feed back to the spine and you work the twist by allowing the left side of the waist to peel back to the left, and at the same time the knees are gently travelling towards the ground. Same thing with the left shoulder, make sure it feels comfortable. You don't have to open the left arm, you can keep it on your hip. You don't have to have the left shoulder on the ground. That's where we're going, but it might not happen straight away. Work with your breath. Don't be in a hurry. Let the body softly release as and when it is ready. Okay, slowly come back up, unravel your legs, and this time finish with, if you need to draw them into the chest for a little while, okay, but otherwise we're going to place both feet flat onto the floor, and then you're going to pick up your right foot and place the right ankle onto your left knee. Begin by using your right hand to gently, I don't want to say push, but gently push the knee away from you. It's encouraging the knee away from you. Just opening space up again in those two groins. And then you might need to lift your head for this bit, or you might be okay. If you need to lift your head, remember it's through pressing the tummy button into the ground that the head lifts. Don't use your neck and shoulder muscles. It's in order to be able to then lift your left foot away from the ground, at which point you should be able to bring your head back to the ground. Otherwise, you can always put a support under your head. We're beginning to really feel now in that right hip and buttock, but I want you to go gently. Be in movement. Don't just force yourself into a posture. This is a journey. So you can rock a little bit from side to side, explore what that feels like. You can draw the knee into the chest, the back knee. Feel what that is like. You can even open the left leg towards the sky. Feel what that's like. So you're just playing around with what's going on underneath your skin. So hands wherever is useful to you. Might feel nice to caress the hip if it's feeling a little bit stressed. Just communicate with it, reassure it that you're not going to push or force it. So I come back to doing little circular movements here, or gently rocking from side to side. Now keep the right foot where it is, but put the left foot back onto the ground, and then using your hands, slide the right heel down towards that crease at the top of the left thigh. Place the heel there, or as near to there as you can, and then again with the right hand gently encouraging the knee away from you. That should feel really nice. And carefully put the right foot back onto the ground. Pick up your left foot and place the ankle onto the right knee. With your left hand, pushing without pushing the left knee away from you to open up that space through the groin area. And then lifting the right foot. If you need to lift your head to do that, then that's fine, but then you can rest the head back onto the ground. And the same work, ever so gently. Don't forget to check in with your shoulders and any other areas that you might be tensing. You know, this is a whole body movement. Don't focus your attention on your hip. Soften the skin all around your body. And you can rock from side to side. Do little circular movements. You can open the right leg to the sky if that feels nice. This yoga is all about exploring at your own pace. There's no right or wrong way of doing things. What's important is that you keep checking in to make sure that you're not pulling or pushing. Remember my mantra, Vanda's mantra, it's in the release of tension that the posture's open to you. It's not in the creation of tension. Okay, keep the left ankle where it is, put the right foot onto the ground again, and then using your hands, slide that left heel down the thigh into the groin, and then gently open the knee in the opposite direction. So just gently pushing it away from you. There's that word again. Can't think of another. You know what I mean. Okay, both feet flat on the floor. We're going to finish here with the happy baby posture. So again, mindfully, and by that I mean create the space in the groin first, and then mindfully pick up one foot after the other and draw the knees in towards your chest. Take your arms and let them go between your knees so that you can catch hold of your big toes. Relax your shoulders. And then you're going to open your feet until they're hip width apart, and then lift the soles of your feet towards the sky, and at the same time bring the knees towards the ground on either side of your chest. So if you haven't done this with me before, you might need to look at what I'm doing. So my shoulders are nice and relaxed, and my knees, my feet are hip distance apart. Soles of the feet are facing the sky, and the knees are just being drawn. Again, I'm not pulling on my big toes, I'm allowing the weight of my arms to draw the knees towards the ground. This is a nice place for practicing a little bit of abdominal breathing, because your thighs are lovely and wide, and so your abdomen is nice and free, so you can think about the movement in the abdomen. As you breathe in, it swells through the thighs, and as you breathe out, it empties. If you've got enough flexibility in your hips, instead of hanging onto your big toes, you could place the palms of your hands along the soles of your feet. So your big toe is kind of pressing into the ball of your thumb. And that's quite a nice place to be. But again, not if that makes you pull from your shoulders. Make sure the shoulders are still relaxed. Abdominal breathing. Breathing in, it swells. Breathing out, it deflates. Then come back to holding the big toes, and we're just going to do a gentle, wide leg opener. So remember, your feet connect back to your spine. Your legs grow from the spine. And as you think about that, just begin to open your knees, coming into a wide-legged position. No pushing through the heels. I can't go very wide because I've got a piece of furniture. But actually I'll just shift myself around a little bit so that you can see if you need to. So I'm starting here in the happy baby, and then just from the spine, allowing the knees to open. Relax the shoulders, don't force. If your knees are still quite bent, that's absolutely fine. It will come with time. Try to be inside your body, underneath your skin. Then gently bring the knees back into the chest. See if you can catch hold of your elbows on either side of your knees and just rock a little bit from side to side. Then roll onto your right hand side and come up. Okay, going back onto my mat. Alrighty, we're going to continue with the hips. So here you're going to start with your right leg in front of you. What's important here is that you keep kind of a 90-degree angle at least between your thigh and your shin. So in other words, that front foot doesn't come back towards you, but it stays, think about it staying parallel with the front edge of the mat. And then the left leg, you gently take back behind you. Again, it doesn't have to be straight. You can tuck the toes under if you like, or you can just be on the edge of your foot. Be aware of both feet, again, and their connection with the spine, because that's what supports you. And you're just going to start gently rocking backwards and forwards. Okay? Feeling the work in that right hip, but without going too deeply just yet. So just gently rocking back and forth. Keep checking that this right foot hasn't snuck its way back towards you. Keep it nice and open there. Ease your way into it. And then as you begin to feel more comfortable, more relaxed doing this, you can take the movement a little bit deeper. And by that I mean you can try turning to face forwards a little bit more. You'll see that that makes a difference. You can even think about turning, I'm adjusting my hands as I go to support me, turning all the way round to the right. You can think about lengthening forwards over that knee, or turning to the left. Again, just exploring, making sure this right foot stays nicely open. Playing a little bit with this left hip. You know, that's going to take you to the right hip by just rolling that left hip towards the ground. And if you're feeling brave and strong, what I quite like doing in this posture is I'm going to lift my body. So I want to establish my, again, you don't have to do any of this, you can just stay rocking, but I want to establish my two hands, my 2 feet, I've tucked my back toes under, their connection back to the spine. And then we've talked about this briefly, and of course I'll come back to it for those of you who are quite new to me. The more you pour those points of connection into the ground, the more the upper body will lighten and lift. So it's a big difference between using your brute force to lift you and using this idea that the more you pour into the ground, as long as you're connected with your spine, the lighter the body will become. Okay, so just a few times like that. I'm going to go forwards again a little bit, just wiggling around inside. And that feels enough on that side. So then, same thing on the left side. So you take your left leg, take the foot a nice long way away from you. Think about that 90-degree angle or more, but definitely not less. The shin kind of parallel to the front of the mat, and gently taking the right leg back behind you. Don't overstretch through the groin there. You know, be aware of that as well. Both feet feeding back to the spine. And I just begin gently rocking. And if that's enough for you, then that's lovely. Just keep on doing that, just gently rocking. If the hip's beginning to trust you a little bit more and you feel like doing a little bit more, begin to turn to face the front. I'm still moving, I'm still rocking. Still wiggling, loosening the shoulders, loosening the spine. You can turn even further towards the left. You can lengthen over that knee, Make sure the foot hasn't snuck back. It has a tendency to do that. You can try opening to the right to see what that does. This back knee, you know, if it's not comfortable, find a place where it is. And then I'm going to lift for a little bit, but you don't have to. But I'm going to take my time establishing first. I don't want to just use my strength to push me up. I want to really be aware of my two hands, my 2 feet, find a sense of equality in those places of touch. And then as they pour into the ground, they spring back through my spine and the body finds a lightness and ease in lifting. So there's nothing going on in my shoulders. We'll come back to this idea. It's just a little few times and then back to just playing. This is kind of a preparation for pigeon. It's much harder than pigeon because your foot is so far away from you. Okay. Ooh la la, lovely. And then coming back to sit. We're going to do the same thing, but from a sitting position. It's not exactly the same, but same thing with regards to the right leg. It's a nice long way away from you. So again, there's this kind of right angle between the thigh and the shin. So not in there towards your pubis, but a nice long way away from you. Establish your support. So feel how your feet, particularly this right foot, because we're going to lift this left foot. So your right foot, your bottom, sinking into the ground and feeding back through the spine that's supporting you. And then from that spine, you're going to pick up your left foot. Keep the shoulder nice and rested. And we're just going to start playing around with this left leg. This is very similar to, in previous classes I've shown you how I usually start my practice, which is lying on the ground and opening my legs, as it were. So again, what I'm focusing on here is what's going on inside my hip. Remember, my foot is directly connected with my spine. So the leg does not begin at the hip joint. It belongs at the spine. It begins at the spine, rather. And I'm just exploring the full range of movement there. I can bend the knee or I can open the knee. I'm then going to change hands. I'm going to take hold of that foot with my right hand so that the leg is crossing more over the body. And then again, this might be enough for you to just start working. You know, you can swap again. You can take the foot with the left hand. You can swap to the right hand. For those of you who can, what I'm going to do now is place this left foot into the crook of my elbow. That might be too difficult, so don't worry if it is. You can, as I say, continue where you were. But if you can, place that foot into the crook of your elbow and then just rock your baby. Stay supported through your spine, because that's the only way. Unless you have that support through your spine, you can't begin to let go and soften because you'll just collapse. So you need to be supported through your spine in order to be able to let go. Next step, for those who can, you're going to place the heel onto the right knee. Now my right foot is still a long way away from me. It would be easier if my right foot were in towards me, but that's not the work that we're doing. The right foot is away from you, and little by little, what you're thinking about, and you may be a long, long way from it, you may be nowhere near, that's fine, but what we're thinking about is that this knee is coming to rest on the foot. They call this posture stacking the logs. So as we were doing on the ground, you can play around with it. You can play with twisting one way and the other. You can play, this is quite nice, with leaning back, seeing how that frees up. That's quite nice. You can play with lengthening forwards, which is probably not quite so nice. But you know, you're again just exploring, just playing. See where your body wants to take you. My spine is beginning to feel, it's kind of complaining a tiny bit, so I'm just going to wave around, make some circular movements, you know, listening to my body. And then the final step of this little sequence is the half lotus. So, and some of you still might be, you know, just playing around with your leg. Go for it. But those of you who want to follow me, the right foot now does tuck back in towards you, and you slide this left heel down into the groin, and then shift around a little bit. I quite like lifting my bottoms a little bit to see whether that left knee can then rest on your right foot. And it's quite nice to close your eyes here for a few moments and just breathe. Okay, let's do the other side. So the left foot in front of you, nice long way away from you, with this lovely space behind the back of the knee. We're going to pick up the right foot, feel supported through the spine so that you can begin to loosen and soften around your bones, around your joints, and just explore the movement, the full range of movement of this leg. You can swap hands, taking the leg across the body. Keep those shoulders rested. You can either continue to play there, or if you want to, think about, I love to imagine what I'm about to do before I do it, and sort of communicate that to my body so that it, you know, when I want to put this right foot into the crook of my elbow, there are a lot of different things that need to go on. The thigh needs to rotate outwards, the calf too. So I kind of like to think about it before I do it. And then, if that's okay, you can be here for a moment rocking your baby. Gently back and forth. And then gently place the heel onto your knee, keeping that left foot away from you. So you know it's quite strong in the right hip and the buttock, but you just focus on softening, not on pushing. You can bring in some little twists, some little sideways movements. Listen to your body. Don't always listen to me. I will remind you that it's quite nice. I can't lean back that far, but it's quite nice leaning back in this posture, using your hands as well as your feet to support you. Kind of frees up the whole pelvis area and the hips. Twist the other way. You can travel forwards. You know, my hip's not particularly liking that this morning, so that's fine. You know, every day is different. It makes a difference if you practice in the morning or in the evening. Makes a difference if you practiced yesterday or not. Makes a difference what you've been eating or drinking. So be patient, be respectful of your body. Then the final step, if you want to, is to bring this left heel in towards you and slide the right heel down into the groin. Shift around a little bit if you need to. And then rest here in your half lotus. Now, this is quite a nice time to speak about stillness, because often people think of stillness as an absence of movement. And that's not what it is at all. It was Eric Schiffman he's got a beautiful book called Moving into Stillness. And he compares the stillness that we're looking for as the stillness that you find at the center of a spinning top. So, you know, stillness is not holding yourself like a statue or becoming rigid. Stillness is finding that breath that's moving through your bones and allowing the bones to breathe. I could go into a full-flung meditation, but I won't, because we're here for yoga, at least for a few more moments, and then we will go into a relaxation. So, opening your legs again, give them a little shake if you need to. And we're going to finish with a couple of sitting postures. So, firstly, Janushirasana, so bringing your right foot up against the left thigh. Now, if that's painful on the knee, you can take the foot further down your leg. But if it's okay for you, then the right heel tucked into the pubis there. And we're going to begin by just practicing sitting tall. So if you need to use your hands to help support you, then do. But otherwise, both feet, both bottoms, allow them to sink down so that you can spring up. Really feel the two opposing poles of gravity. The ground is drawing you one way, but the sky just as powerfully is drawing you in the opposite direction, and you are held between the two, so you do not have to hold yourself. If that's feeling comfortable, the spine is nice and relaxed and everything is soft, you can just take the arms up for a moment. Remember, not from the shoulders, but from the spine. Give your shoulders back, free your neck, just breathe there. And bring the arms down, and just a tiny little twist, allowing the waist to turn around your spine, just so that you're kind of facing that left leg a little bit more. And we're going to go forwards, but you remember, don't think about going forwards, think about going backwards through your bottoms. Let your bottoms go down and back, and let them project your upper body up and forwards. Don't pull with your shoulders, don't pull with your head. Work from the spine, grow from the spine. Deep down in the pelvis. Travel in the opposite direction to the one that you thought you were going in. Arms can be wherever is useful to you. I quite like having my hands on my lower back to soothe my lower back and remind me not to overstretch, but rather to soften. And I quite like having a hand on my chest to remind me to keep both length and width through my upper body as it travels up and forwards. Come back up. Just be a little bit careful with this knee that's been bent. Draw it into your chest first, wiggle around a little bit, and then straighten it. And the same thing with the left foot. Tuck the heel into the pubis. If that's not good for your knee, take it further down. You can even do this posture like that, with your foot flat on the floor if your knee is really bothering you. Have to be very careful of our knees. Yes, I will say it. Although the knee, again, just like I've said with the hip, with practice, again, if you really focus on the foot feeding directly to the spine, then you'll begin to feel how you can bypass that knee as well as bypassing the hip. And the other thing to know about knees is the more you work on your hips opening, the less strain there will be on that knee. But that said, we do have to be careful and aware. Okay, so firstly, sitting tall, bottoms releasing into the ground, the feet too, and the reaction of the body is to lengthen towards the sky. If that feels comfortable, you can take your arms up. arms down, tiny little twist of the waist so that you're facing your right leg, and then begin from the bottom. As the bottom sink, the upper body flies. Don't be in a hurry. There's no challenge here. You're exploring the journey. How can I do this while staying soft and relaxed? Breathe your way into it. Every time you feel something starting to pull, stop, soften, communicate, and then go a little bit further. Again, just a little bit of care with this bent knee. Draw it into your chest, wiggle it around a little bit, and open the leg. We're going to finish with a wide-legged stretch then. So here the important thing is that you're on your front sit bones. So if you need to bend your knees, and a lot of you will need to bend your knees, that's fine. If straightening your knees means that you're being pushed back onto your back sit bones, this is not a good place to be. So do whatever you need to do, bend your knees as much as you need to in order to be on those front sit bones. And then again, we'll begin by just sitting tall, my feet touching the ground, my bottoms feeding back towards my spine that is supporting me, those pulls of gravity holding me kind of suspended between them. If it feels comfy, and it might not, you might need your hands to help support you, at least to begin with. But if you're feeling okay, you can lift the arms or let the arms float upwards. Give the shoulders back. Breathe here. And bring the arms down. Now we're going to try going forwards just a little bit, but before we do, think about this length between the pubis and the top of the sternum. Think about the width through your lower, middle and upper back, and don't sacrifice that. If you need to bend your knees a little bit more, then do. But really don't lead with the shoulders, don't shorten that length that you found through the body. And if that means that you just stay sitting vertically, then that's enough for you today. Otherwise, start with the bottom. The bottom is going backwards and down, and that's just projecting the upper body forwards and up. Don't even think about the fact that you're going down. That's not the feeling. Use your hands to support you if you need to, not to reach with, but just to feed back to the spine. And again, every time you begin to feel an overstretch or a pull, most likely in your adductors, maybe in your lower back, stop. Breathe, soften, communicate, and just enjoy the journey wherever it takes you. It's a mystery tour. Even if you get to where I am, that's not your destination. Don't be satisfied at having got there. Continue to explore the breath, the freeing, the movement of your bones. Never be satisfied. Okay. Gently come back up, and to come out of this posture, from the spine, draw the heels in towards you. So bending your knees, your feet come together. You place one hand onto your ankles, then the other. Relax your shoulders and just let the head drop towards the knees. Relax your jaw and just breathe here softly. It's a beautiful, peaceful position. Then slowly lift your head and make your way into Shavasana. So again, a reminder, I always come into Shavasana with my knees bent, and I look after the top half of my body first, opening and releasing the shoulders, tucking the chin in very slightly, letting the arms rest either side of you, slightly away from you, with the palms facing the sky, freeing up the lumbar spine, and then if the lower back allows you to, you can lengthen one leg and then the other, and let your toes drop to either side. Close your eyes and begin to observe your breath. Don't try to change or force your breath in any way. Just observe. Observe the passage of air through your nostrils. Notice the coolness of the air as you breathe in. And the slight warmth as you breathe out. You can enhance that feeling by breathing in along the inner edge of your nostrils and breathing out along the outer edge. You don't have to, but it's quite interesting to explore. Notice the gentle rise and fall of your body as you breathe. As you breathe in, the diaphragm descends and the belly swells. As you breathe out, the diaphragm rises and the belly empties. Observe this. Notice the beating of your heart. Can you feel it beating? You may even be able to hear your heartbeat. And visualize the blood journeying through your body, being gently pumped by this beating heart. Notice how soft your breathing has become, and just enjoy resting here in Shavasana. Now, take a couple of deeper breaths and gently bend one knee after the other. Place your hands onto your abdomen or chest. And allow your breath to bring you back to the present moment. Reconnect with the ground beneath your feet, the back of your skull, and all of the other places that are touching the ground. When you feel ready, roll onto your right hand side. Stay there for a few moments before coming back to sit. Shanti. There you go. I hope you enjoyed that. Know that I miss you all. I can feel you with me. It's such a weird feeling, even though we're not live. I can kind of feel you in the room with me. So hopefully it feels the same to you. And I shall let you know about these Zoom classes. I need to do some trials and what have you, and get some equipment, which is not easy at this point, but I'll keep you posted. Bye for now. See you next week.